Thank you so much, Law. Odo, it is always a pleasure hearing from you. Even the jokes, at least being in the studio in the big screen. We just got a big screen version of Law behind us, despite the fact she's in the studio with us. One day soon, hopefully we can all be together. Anyways, welcome back to the Analyst Desk. I'm Quickshot, joined by Troubleinc. Guldborg. Coming up next is G2 versus Excel. And we do have to start with some of the changes that have been made by the 8-time champions G2 Esports. We talked about this during the course of Ready Check, but for G2, it is a huge organizational rebuild. First of all, the old guard is gone. There's 3 roster changes to the starting players. The coaching staff, the support staff, a lot has changed behind the scenes. And in my mind, expectations are lower than they ever have been. Is that fair to say, especially when you think they're building around Jankos and Caps now?
I definitely still think it's fair to say they should be low, because despite you building it around veterans, then you are bringing in new talent that it just cannot match what G2 has been in the past.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think you could have probably subbed in someone who was not a rookie, and it would have still felt the same way that you are not getting the old G2. I think that's something as a viewer, as us, it was a phase. It's over now. They need to rebuild something completely new. The fact you then do that with rookies, I actually think it's a bright side, especially with the rookies they have chosen. I think Targamas, for a lot of people, have been like the standout for all of people watching ERLs, or even people thinking he's the best support outside of the LEC. So we've already seen one time today what veterans can do with new rookies, with Elioya, Kaiser, building around the new guy in the mid lane.
Yeah.
I'm looking at a mid jungle duo who's looking to take on a support guy into their little roaming style, or into their playmaking style instead now.
Honestly, we have seen a bunch of organizations, and G2 included, where they build an empire on paychecks. I don't think this is something that we haven't seen before. We saw the addition of Reckless last split, and we're like, this is a super team, but money doesn't always seem to buy you success. I love how you mentioned Mad Lions, because I feel like G2 is finally doing the same thing. They're investing in new blood, bringing in Flakked specifically. Flakked hasn't won EU Masters. He wasn't at EU Masters last season, and it's just so good to see that the research has been put in to bring someone that they can finally trust down the bot lane, as well as another rookie next to him. I mean, if that is not new blood for G2, I don't know what is.
I actually think it's interesting as well, because I think Flag still matches a playstyle that fits together with Targamas at the same time. You take a look at LVP, well, he was this kind of AD carry that didn't stand too much out in laning phase, but once we moved on to team fights, he had some of the highest damage numbers. So you're looking at an AD carry that can actually facilitate the playstyle that this support has had in a former team, which is great, because when you're building a new team with different puzzle pieces from different teams, then the synergy we're looking at, like it always becomes disjointed and messed up. But it honestly feels like this time around with G2 that they have puzzle pieces that fits together without having played together before.
I'm very interested to see what impact Dylan Falco can have with this team as well, because not only did we mention the roster changes, but the organization behind Grabs is no longer with G2 Esports. So Dylan coming in, there's an interesting coach reshuffle that we've seen amongst some of the teams.
It's coach, so that
we'll
might
have
be
to see. So talking a little bit about how the fact that G2, they lost the current coach, they lost a former coach to Excel a long time ago, in fact. Excel is the only LEC team, that was an awful segue. They're the only LEC team in 2022 that has made less than 2 roster changes. So I want to talk a little bit about Excel Esports. The joke that I said in Ready Check was, is this the year they finally make playoffs? The only LEC team to never do it?
Is this the year of the duck? Since they're bringing it back?
I'm so tired of that. I am so tired of that.
This is the new era. This is the era of Mark and Hank. Markoon and Advienne. BTXL paid for this move from the ERLs to LEC. They suffered, guys. But I think Excel came out as winners in the LEC, because with the addition of the duo of the jungle and support, you see this synergy flying in. You see new blood. You see how hungry they are. I feel the more hungry players are, the more they make plays without regrets. And even though, yeah, you can say that Markoon has made a few uncalculated mistakes, but it's the hunger and it's the drive that keeps Excel going, together with Advienne, who's a little bit more laid back, but always following the same path. I feel Excel have kept the core that worked for them last split.
And that's also the thing that worked for them, right? Because when you're integrating a new player, because there's obviously been a lot of changes in preseason before LEC started. Wow, big surprise. But having to integrate a new player who's a top laner is usually not the most difficult thing to do in a team. Excel is coming in with some really good fundamentals in terms of starting the season early. Because remember, this roster last time was so close to make playoffs.
Oh, I remember.
But they swapped them around way too late, mid-split into the season.
Unfortunately, do have to cut you off. We are just about to jump into picks and bans. I bet big on XL last time when they let me down. Do not do it again. It's XL taking on G2.
Guldborg and Trouble. He's been away for so long, I can't even pronounce his name anymore.
Stop, yeah.
It's very difficult, you
I
know?
got the cue, the picks and bans was ready.
That's okay.
So
Just so you know, Quickshot got the cue that Picks and Bans was ready, which is why we are now here casting the game. I'm Medi, he's Vedi, and those are our names.
Yeah, wow. We're back. It's been a while. What,
It has.
132 days, I think is what
Since the last
Quickshot said.
LEC game,
Yeah, and the last time that XL played in the LEC, it was actually against G2. It was G2 taking away their playoffs chances, as it often is when they often have such difficult weeks to end out the splits. But now they're starting off their split with a very strong roster, a roster that had a lot of potential last split, but wasn't quite able to live up to that potential as we came towards the end of summer.
And I think the thing with Excel is how well were they developed around Markoon and Advienne as we get into the 2022 season, because these were two players that really were stalwarts for the team that really started to show up. And now they are two players this team has been continued to be formed around. Let's get into draft, Betty.
Let's get into
Renekton
draft.
has been high priority.
Yep.
Jinx has been high priority. Akshan, maybe not so high priority after the last game. Just
Well,
saying.
Kate has been a pretty consistent ban. We usually see that removed. Thresh is also a bit of a European classic, something that almost always you will see banned domestically is this Thresh. There are a lot of very good Thresh players. Two of them are, in fact, in this game.
There they are.
But they will often be removed. Now, we will see Akshan removed specifically against Caps, with Twisted Fate also being taken off the board, a Nukeduck staple throughout the years he has played in the LEC.
I mean, it's a mid laner staple, really. The ability to roam around the map and have so much impact because of that destiny is not something G2 want to see in this game. There's the Jhin ban, so we are looking down towards, you know, the Jinx as a possible early pick here with Caitlyn getting taken away. I wonder if XL Esports will put all of their eggs into that Jinx basket once again. Patrik has so consistently been a star player for this team, and so consistently, even when you look back onto previous teams he's been on, he's been a guy that we've said, this is the next AD carry to really break through in Europe, and he's never really found that team that forms around him that can make that happen. Instead of the Jinx, though, we will have another J. It's Jarvan the fourth here for Markoon.
Well, with the Thresh still up and available, G2 have a lot of options. They could look to try and answer with the jungle, and it does seem to be the direction that they're going for. Jarvan, Xin, and Lee.
It's Jin Zhao!
These are the main junglers that we've been seeing a lot here in Europe. We did get to see Diana as well earlier in the day, but we're going to stick with a bit more of a staple in these two junglers. Now, will we see that priority on someone like the Jinx? Will we see priority on something like the Thresh? There are, of course, still good answers into the Thresh, even though it is a common ban, but it does look like that they want to get Flakked on something that he can have some comfort on, something that scales well, something that fits in the current meta. And I think that Jinx's rise in popularity is by and large due to those lethal tempo changes that we saw. Now she can be so much more powerful in the early game. She scales incredibly well and is always going to be a threat in the current meta.
Especially if you team her up alongside an Enchanter for all of those buffs in the late game. However, XL very willing to take the fight to G2 in this bottom lane. Lucian, Nami picked up. It's something we started to see a lot at Worlds last year with the Electrocute Nami, Lucian, of course, we're all getting it messed up. Lucian, of course, having the change to his passive as well, meaning that if you have enhanced auto attacks, if someone is buffing you, you get more damage out of that light slinger. G2, though, will answer with Caps' LeBlanc, and what a powerful pick that is for day one of the LEC.
So, XL, they have themselves a very strong bot side of the map already. You already talked about how we saw it at Worlds, and the 2v2 potential that this duo does present mean that XL can already look to try and play towards that side of the map. Meanwhile, G2 have done what they've often done, draft themselves a very strong mid-jungle duo. LeBlanc and Zhao is terrifying and very difficult to deal with, especially with a staple and successful mid-jungle in the form of Caps and Jankos. So, it seems that both teams right now have a very clear game plan. The question is, how will they round things out?
And I think this is what we expected from G2 in terms of game plan as well. Strong mid-jungle, rely on the fact that Caps and Jankos have played together for a number of years and have this strength together, and then perhaps put Flakked on something that will just scale up in the lane, give Targamas something that can roam around, and he and Jankos can be the engine room for this G2 early game.
Certainly seems to be the direction they're going for the time being. Now, G2 are removing some of the safe options that Finn could go for in the top lane with the Renekton. Remember that we have been seeing things like Ornn being blind picked on the blue side early on here in Europe, along with that Renekton. Gwen going to be taken off the board does suggest to me that XL right now is looking at that Ornn pick, but BrokenBlade, I'm sure, will have some sort of answer to it, as I imagine they will save his pick for last.
G2, as you say, will probably look towards their support pick here. You have such a slew of opportunities to support these days. You can go for an Enchanter. Karma, Lulu, both champions we have wondered if we'll see. Today, though, has been more about Engage. Rakan and Nautilus higher up on the priority list. But G2 here say, nope, Lulu is good enough for us. We'll lock that in. Give ourselves a safer bottom lane with the Enchanter plus Scalar. And then we'll make XL Esports actually have to take the fight to us in that bottom lane.
I'm a big fan of this Gangplank if XL do choose to lock it in. Gives you more tools to play towards the bot side of the map. Given that you have that Gangplank ultimate as your disposal, he's also pretty safe up towards the top side of the map. Recently in solo queue, I've been seeing a lot of the lethality slash crit combo builds, and it hits hard. It hits really. It is one scary Gangplank up towards the top side of the map. So we'll see what Finn decides to go for as we get into game. Now, rounding out the mid, I think they could go for something like a Vex. But with Lissandra taken off the board, it looks like Nukeduck is going to go for the Malzahar instead. A champion we did get to see at the World Championship. We did get to see it a little bit. I think the LPL has already also brought this one out so far, this split. A very good answer to the LeBlanc. Not the strongest in the early game, but his whole toolkit is about limiting one's mobility. And what is LeBlanc's biggest strength? Her mobility. So Malzahar often used as a very good answer. And once you get a couple levels under your belt, that wave clear in mid lane is going to be very difficult to deal with.
Wait, no, Betty, no. That's a Corki.
That's a Corki.
What is this draft?
It's got to be a Corki top lane, right?
It's a Corki top lane. Obviously, yeah. How did I not think of that?
Well, I think that what it does offer G2 is a little bit more scaling. I think the Gangplank is naturally going to struggle in this 1 versus 1 as well. It's a very safe top side of the map too, but I'm going to be honest, I haven't seen a lot of Corki tops. It's not something conventional. I will say that I was expecting G2 to have a little bit more Engage come out from the top side of the map, or even something that can just pose a little bit more of a threat in a side lane. That's traditionally what I would expect from BrokenBlade, but saying that, Corki can be very effective in the side lane. As we mentioned, he does scale well. He does have the package, which can be used for roams later on into the game. And in terms of Engage, you have Lulu plus Xin, so your ability to start fights and skirmish is still pretty strong. So two teams, two very different styles, one slightly more traditional, G2 doing what they often do and shaking things up. They're both jumping onto the Rift for the first time this split, so let's not wait anymore and let's get straight into game.
And on to Summoner's Rift we go for the third game of day 1. We are checking if we have ever seen Corki top in the LEC.
Oh, we must.
Marcus is working on it. I mean, so I've looked back. In Season 9, apparently, there was a ton of Corki top that I just totally forgot about. 35 games. However, he was played 864 times in the mid lane. And this is in major regions, so it's possible we didn't see him in the LEC. As G2 look to utilize the power of Corki top. Of course, Phosphorus Bomb does give you vision.
I like the G2's leveraging the fact that XL's level 1 very weak. Jarvan takes E, which doesn't do anything. You then have Malzahar, who normally takes Q at level 1, but you can take E if you want to, but even then, also not very strong. And G2 are using that ability to just get a little bit of early game information. They've been able to drop that ward onto Markoon's blue, and now they have insight as to where he is starting. Finn, though, with a pretty good trade onto BrokenBlade, going to force him to use that health pot, or corrupting pot rather, very early on. A very favorable trade for Finn in the 1v1.
He can do a huge amount of damage with that parlay, and Grasp as well should keep him okay in the lane. Do see a first strike on BrokenBlade. Of course, on Corki you can get that long-range auto attack off before anyone... Oh, sorry, long-range ultimate off before anyone is able to actually do damage to you, meaning you get all of that extra gold from the first strike.
Of course, the range into melee matchup also helps, right? Like
just a tad.
He can just look to abuse that Gangplank in the 1v1. Let's have a look quickly here at Markoon. He has started on the red buff, immediately going to go over towards his blue. And if he grabs that Gromp, he should be able to get himself level 3. And maybe then path back towards the bot side of the map, or maybe look for something sneaky up towards the top side. But he should have information that this ward is here, given that he was aware of the invade from G2.
When it was put down.
He was indeed there. So I imagine that he's going to path back to... No, but he's level 2. The pings are coming down. G2 is very aware of what Markoon is up to right now.
So I wonder if BrokenBlade hasn't taken W. Because if he's taking Gatling Gun here, he might be in a little bit of a sticky situation, and he has no Valkyrie on the Corki, meaning this is a free flash for Markoon. He can just walk in, EQ combo, and the flash is guaranteed. BrokenBlade has to flash away.
Okay, wow, and the wave is in a really awkward spot now for BrokenBlade. Remember, with the TP changes, you can't TP to the wave anymore. You have to TP back to your tower, which is going to make things even more awkward. But Jankos, knowing that Markoon is only level 2, means that all of the jungle is up and available, and this bot lane that Excel was supposed to play around has now been left exposed for a potential gank.
Jungle, what's that? I see ganks on the menu here as Jankos. Maybe looking to live up to his first Blood King moniker that he had all those years ago. Advienne, the target, looking for the 3-talent strike, flashed away, dashed away by Patrik, and Jankos will get a summoner in the bottom lane.
Now the good news for Patrik and Advienne is the wave is bouncing back towards them. They were able to get that first push, but of course it does mean that the flash will be lost for Advienne. Interesting adaptation that we saw here from Excel in the early laning phase. Looking to try and help Finn out as much as possible in this 1v1. It's clearly a counter-pick answer from BrokenBlade, but they have removed everything for him. He's lost his flash, he doesn't have his TP, the wave was in an awkward spot, and you can see him now already forced to overextend, and now Finn with a level advantage are looking to try and bully him as much as possible, even coming out with a CS lead in the 1v1. So Markoon doing everything that he can at the expense to himself, trying to support, but even that, he's still doing very well in the farm department.
But it isn't the expense of every other lane. Look at mid lane at the moment. 12 CS deficit for Nukeduck. He's about to back and TP back in. Bot lane as well. Flakked has a CS lead and already got that flash burn. Jankos in the vicinity. This could be disaster for the XL bot lane.
Well, I think that in the early game, for the time being, mid lane is going the way I kind of expect it to go. With the Malzahar. Usually he doesn't really offer very much in the laning phase. It's normally around level 7 where he starts getting a lot more of his wave clear that he can actually answer this LeBlanc. And in the bot lane, I think I agree with you, but hang on a second. This could be a pretty good trade for Nukeduck because he just TPs back into lane.
Yeah, Cap's still only sitting on those 2 total biscuits of rejuvenation. Has burned through his corrupting potion stacks.
And we're looking to attack the top lane once again. This is a stacked wave. The Malzahar's trying to push in mid. Caps hasn't reset yet.
BrokenBlade. Oh, EQ doesn't hit. He went through the tower, and it was just forced outside of range. Oh, you can't put the Damascene Standard in the middle of terrain because
hang on, the TP got cancelled.
Cancelled TP. Nukeduck silences it with the Q, stops the channel, and stops any hope BrokenBlade had of surviving.
Wow, XL just continue to attack BrokenBlade on the top side of the map. This was supposed to be G2's counter pick, which XL is doing a fantastic job of shutting down. Finn is being set up for success, and XL find themselves with first blood.
Nukeduck showing quite a lot of intelligence there to make sure he got in range for this Call of the Void to cancel the TP. This Damascene Standard, just the range gets extended. Actually, may have even just missed the Q.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And the silence was so pivotal there because it means that XL can go for the redive. You can see Markoon backing off thinking, oh, fine, the dive failed, not a big deal. But then he's like, oh, we can go for another opportunity here. Jankos tries to get to the lane to offer assistance, but the dive itself was also very well executed. Finn taking that initial tower aggro, Markoon then finishing off the kill, flashing out to safety. And overall, Excel, just a very cleanly executed dive. We expected them to play around their bot side of the map. When you have this Lucian Nami, it's kind of your strong side. It's where you expect them to try and get their advantages, but instead they're just leaving Patrik and Advienne to their own devices, and instead they're just trying to shut down this counter pick from BrokenBlade. They effectively split the map, or at least Markoon forced the map split, focused all of his attention up towards the top side, and has done everything in his power to try and get Finn ahead. And this is something that you like to see on Jarvan. As Cage always likes to say, if you're not ganking on Jarvan, then you're not doing it right. And Markoon is definitely doing it right. 2 ganks in 5 minutes. He's already setting his top laner up perfectly to get those early game leads.
And it's a great adaptation in the draft as well, because through the first 3 picks of the draft, it very much felt like Excel would be focused around that bottom side of the map, but instead changed things up, put some time into Finn, who on his return to Europe is having a very strong early game. Of course, we are only 7 minutes in, so as much as I would like to make some sweeping statements about how Finn has returned, CLG was just a blip on the radar, we're not going to do that. He is now 22 years old, though. So it's been 5 years since I last cast him.
It certainly has. Now, this control ward that Markoon has dropped will give information as to where Jankos is as he's on his red buff. You can see Caps putting more pressure down into the mid, looking for a roam, but Markoon's looking for another gank.
Barrel set up EQ, just a little bit short. The counter barrage coming in as well. Do they know that Jankos is in the area? They do now as the wind becomes lightning. Finn, though, still on the chase, and Parlay, not quite enough damage in the trial fight by fire. Will not tick down BrokenBlade. Caps on the way up. Markoon and Finn on the way back to the fountain, it seems. Quick double kill over to G2.
And the aggression is now punished very well by G2. Medic, we were just talking about... Ooh, Patrik goes in for an aggressive trade.
Patrick's only 5 here. There's the Flame Chompers. There's Advienne flashing away, but the flash chase is there. Exhaust not enough to keep Advienne alive, and the level advantage paying off dividends for G2.
And a big 2v2 kill comes out for the bot lane.
It's been 139 days since you last spoke,
It's been a while.
I understand.
It's been a while, but that has got to be a huge confidence booster for the new G2 bot lane. Getting themselves a 2v2 kill in their debut game against XL is exactly the type of momentum shift that they needed after what was a bit of a shaky early game that we've seen from G2 so far in the way in which XL have been consistently pushing their advantages. But this is just over-aggressive. They know where Jankos is. The control ward was on the red. They had information that Jankos was topside, and the information should be clear. Malz will not get pushed yet.
Yeah.
There's no way that Malz is going to be able to answer this. Caps is able to rotate up towards the top side, invests the flash, and then G2 find themselves 2 very quick kills and finally get themselves back in control of the game.
And LeBlanc with early kills can be devastating to deal with. Sorcerer's Shoes already complete. Chains are going to land, but there's the suppression, Nether Grasp. Caps is feeling the call of the void as Nukeduck takes him out.
And that is what Malzahar does to LeBlanc. You try to move, he says, nein, das ist nicht so gut. Immediately stops you in your tracks and is able to shut you down with the combination of Jarvan. Beautifully executed there. I say beautifully executed.
I mean, he did what he had to do, and that
he
is
did
beautiful.
exactly what he had to do. He pressed his R button, he shut down LeBlanc, and XL get themselves another kill. So the trades continue to come back and forth. Great to see that 2 teams that you typically associate with being aggressive. Typically Caps looking to be very lane dominant. Markoon, ever since he arrived in the league, has been all about ganking. Both teams still demonstrating that they have that aggression and will still look to fight wherever they can.
It was Markoon who really brought the Diana to the fore when he first joined the LEC in summer 2021.
I mean, Caps must remember the volley bear that kept diving his tower.
Oh, goodness, yeah.
As Jankos now looks for a gank of his own. Caps has the push in mid, doesn't have TP.
Jankos does have Rift out here as well, so if they can get one more plate, this could be a very timely gank to take down that tower. But Patrik and Advienne do still have a very strong 2v2 lane here in the Lucian Nami. Targamas and Flakked are respecting that, at least for the moment. Markoon on his way down here, Vedius. It may turn into a 3v3 lickety split, but Patrik's going to get slowed here. Actually dodges away from the glance. Tidal wave being used. Jankos waited, bided his time, and there's a super mega kill rocket from Flakked as he picks up his first kill in the LEC.
Really nice flash there from Jankos to both dodge the bubble and get in range to do just enough damage to Patrik to then set up Flakked for the ultimate. Markoon wasn't in range to offer assistance. And honestly, this G2 bot lane is really gapping Patrik and Advienne. They haven't had a huge amount of jungle assistance in their defense, but still the fact they were able to find that 2v2 kill, they were able to catch them off guard there with the gank. The bot lane from G2 definitely coming up clutch in their first game.
And 11 minutes in, G2 now with a sizable gold lead, about 1,000 ahead. Yet to see the first dragon of the game be taken. It is an Infernal waiting. And just looking at Jankos' Rift Herald timer, that's about a third of the timer left on that. So I'm wondering where he's going to decide to use that. Still 4 plates in both the top and the bottom lane for him to collect, and 5 in the mid lane. Excel only taking a plate in middle at the moment, as Nukeduck was able to get some damage down after Caps died.
Right now, G2 is hovering around the Drake. They could use the Herald to set up for that objective if they want to. Just drop it in mid lane, force Excel to catch it, and then grab it.
They could just do it.
They could also just do it. Caps, well, he does have TP, but that's not really going to help in this situation. Instead, he's just going to keep fighting with Nukeduck. And it's kind of at this point, for the record, where Malzahar starts to be a little bit more obnoxious for the LeBlanc, because you can drop that Malefic Vision, you then spawn your little Voidlings, and then that wave just auto-pushes. And then you leave. There's no one to fight left in the lane. It's just Nukeduck being annoying on the Malzahar. Instead, Jankos going to choose to drop it bot lane. They secure themselves the Drake. They're likely going to secure the first tower of the game. But here comes Markoon.
That tower is going to go down to this Rift Herald charge. It's just under half HP. Actually, it won't quite. I misjudged my bulwark there, as the extra plate going down gave the tower just that little bit of extra health and armor overall. Markoon, though, still in the area, looking to see if he can find something here. But at the moment, unable to find anything at all.
You can see, though, that the level discrepancy starting to build up between the two junglers. Jankos, who hasn't been ganking as much, has still found successful plays in the early game, and has found himself also with a 25 CS gold lead, CS lead rather.
Oh, good old CS gold lead. I love him.
Listen, okay, it's been a while, okay? Words hard.
Words are hard, it's true.
I haven't spoken English in a very long time.
You know what's harder? And this is from watching K-Drill. Sekiro, apparently.
Difficult game.
Really tough as Nukeduck looks for a fight up towards the top lane. Nether Grasp into a parlay, into a cannon barrage should be enough to take down BrokenBlade here. In fact, not even using the Malzahar ultimate. Call to the Void a little bit short, but the parlay is not. Targamas caught unaware, as is Flakked in the bottom lane. All summoners burnt from the G2 bot lane, and a death onto Flakked.
Caps looks like he tried to rotate up towards the top side of the map, but then there was a gank happening in the bot. G2 kind of getting attacked on multiple fronts. This will give Finn some plates in the top lane. Nukeduck will still be able to invest his TP into mid and catch that wave. And Excel find themselves a couple more kills. The bloodthirst does not stop from either of these teams. It is a constant trade back and forth as we approach the 40-minute mark. The plates will fall. The TPs will become unleashed, and this is where we'll start to see a lot more people getting involved across the map. But let's have a look at this bot lane play, because we were focused on the top lane shenanigans. You can't see the Caps try to roam up, but the immediate flash out from Flakked, he wasn't expecting Markoon to be there. And just the EQ into ult after flash. There's very little that the Jinx can do in that situation. If Jankos had been a little earlier, maybe they could turn that around in a 3v3, but when you have so much damage thrown into your face, wow, there's only so much as a Jinx that you can do.
I've seen Comp fall prey to a similar fight earlier on in the day. Now Flakked finds his first death here in the LEC. 1-1-1 matching Caps on the scoreline. We'll take the tower down as well just after plates have fallen, so no extra 160 gold out of that, but he should be able to back and get himself, well, we'll see if it's Kraken Slayer or Gale Force here, Vedi, on the Jinx. We did discuss Gale Force earlier when we saw a Jinx into a Jarvan and wondered whether it was the most effective use of the Mythic. Of course, you can't really dodge out of a Cataclysm with a Gale Force, but you can dodge away from a Nami bubble. You can dodge away from, yeah, that's about it. A culling, I guess.
Well, the EQ from the Jarvan as well.
EQ.
Barrels potentially as well.
True,
There are a couple things to dodge. Just having that extra bit of mobility on Jinx, I think also can be valuable when paired with the bonus movement speed that a Lulu can offer you as well. So we'll see how effective it is as the game progresses. Finn currently sitting solo in the bot lane, but the TP flank.
Finn's going to flash away, but can he turn this one around onto BrokenBlade? Cannon barrage out. Caps trying to get the chains to hit, but Finn is dodging them as much as he can in the end. BrokenBlade will secure the kill, but Finn survived for a hell of a long time.
Yeah, he bought a lot of time. He got the TP out from Caps. Excel will be able to get themselves the Herald in exchange, and then they can drop that into the mid lane to open up the map a little bit more. But this is the moment that Caps has been waiting for. He's been sitting on that TP for a while, waiting for that 14-minute mark for the TP to upgrade into that unleashed form. The ward was primed and ready to set up for the collapse, and they're able to catch Finn out off on the side lane. And just getting a little bit more gold into BrokenBlade and Caps' back pocket is definitely a good direction for G2 to go, as they currently sit with a just under 2k gold lead.
They've been able to extend that just a little bit, and you can see some of that sitting on Flakked. 700 gold ahead there in the AD carry position. Also, Jankos in the jungle continues to be a menace. Has himself a 700 gold lead as well. But with the Rift Herald going down here, that gold lead is going to be curtailed a tad, reduced a smidge, down to about 1,000 overall.
A lot of the difference coming in the supports as well. Let's have a look. Dragon now spawning in about 30 seconds. Nukeduck going to get that push in the mid lane. And again, we mentioned it. You can see he's now actually got a level over Caps. Every time Caps leaves the lane, the wave just melts, right? Look, let's look at this intense combo. E, W, the wave disappears. Caps can't do anything about it. And Nukeduck has full control at this point in the game. Interesting that he's gone for the Ludens. Typically, you will see things like the Liandries for that additional burn, but this will give you more magic penetration on all of your other legendaries that you're building, and also just the damage over time doesn't reduce the cooldown of the proc of the Ludens, but that proc can also help with the damage.
I also think against the squishy team, Luden's just more outright damage in a lot of cases, you know? You're not going into a big tank. You don't want to actually take them down too much over the course of a fight. You just want that straight up burst. We see a blue buff at a tower exchanged for this Hextech Drake. It is an Ocean Soul. No new rifts for us today, I'm afraid, but Ocean, definitely a Dragon teams want to fight over. So hopefully we'll see some more skirmishes down in that bottom side river over the next, 20 minutes or so.
And Excel will enjoy its haste and attack speed, I believe, that the Hextech Drake gives you. Yes. I'm still learning those new Drakes.
So here is the cool trivia fact, because can you just, nothing's going to happen for a minute,
fine
right?
for now, you're fine.
Did you know what Chemtech Drake does?
Yes, it's current health damage.
No, so it's
greater than your
damage if their current health is greater than yours. Did you know what happens if you stand in the Chemtech fog?
No.
Up to 10% damage to champions with greater current health than you.
Really?
Just from being in the fog. No one knows this. No one knows it. I'm like, fight in the fog. I'm Rakan. I have 1,000 health or whatever. I can kill this Ornn. Easy clap,
What, is that on top of the dragon buff?
Oh, if you are in the Chemtech, you get that buff.
I see.
Alongside the dumb camouflage thing.
Today I learned. But there is no Chemtech fog on the map, so we'll see. We still have 2 more games.
What if we didn't have it and then Kadril got to say that fact another time?
Okay.
I can't have him see it.
It's all about your trivia,
exactly.
is it? I see, right. Dr. Medic Chamberlain, everyone. I thought you'd correct me in some way there.
No, because I am Dr. Right, it's Dr. Aaron Chamberlain, technically. We're going to be super precise.
There it is, technically,
well,
guys. I was waiting for the there he is. That was what I was waiting for. All right, well, the next Dragon spawns in about 3 minutes' time. A lot of teams right now have just been fighting a lot around Vision, and if you take a quick look at the minimap, you will notice that G2 has invested a lot across the map. 3 small wards invested around the red buff on the bot side, and then 2 control wards on the top side. So full control in favor of G2 in terms of information, and Excel right now are mainly just fighting over the river and looking to contest some of these neutrals. They will spot out Jankos.
Yeah, Markoon's going to meet up with him. Smite went down. I believe Jankos secured it. There's the Cataclysm, though, and the rest of Excel are on their way. Crescent's guard coming out from Jankos as he tries to survive. And the culling is met by a brick wall. Patrik, though, dodges away from the chains after they found their mark. And nothing to do in that top lane jungle, or top side jungle.
Jankos keeping his cool there. I really thought that he would be forced to flash. It's a common tactic that many Jarvan players will do. They see someone out of position, or just in a position really, they'll just ult them just to get that flash out, right? Because then that is unavailable, likely for the next big team fight that's going to be coming up. And especially if Jankos had lost his flash for the Drake that's going to be spawning in about 2 minutes' time, that then makes it harder for G2 to set up for their engages. But he just uses the ultimate. He knows that because of the Jarvan ultimate, the enemy team can't get in range, and so he doesn't actually end up taking any damage. So pretty good patience there from Jankos. Doesn't end up losing his summoner. Is able to go back, and now is grouping up with his team to claim some control.
Nukeduck's not in a good spot here. He's going to have to try and TP away, but Camps can just land the chains. Doesn't look for them.
No.
Perhaps thought Nukeduck had gone further away because Nukeduck stepped back out of vision, then back into the bush.
But still, Nukeduck with the quick escape. That will be the cost of TP. The question is, did G2 spot that? They have to realize that something is amiss because Nukeduck suddenly disappeared when he was top lane. So
I mean, and then immediately appeared mid lane, and they had just seen.
So they probably can assume it.
I think they can work it out. Like, players in silver can probably work that one out, Vedi.
Bold.
That's true. I don't know, I haven't been in silver
sometimes
for a while.
I have TP and I forget that I don't have it,
Yeah, but like I said silver, not iron.
Okay. Now, a lot of A lot of the current map state is about trading for vision, picking up waves, setting up for the next Drake that's spawning in about a minute's time. From the side of G2, they do have a pretty good scaling comp with the Jinx plus Lulu. You also have the Corki. Like, these 3 champions in isolation just give you a very powerful late game threat. When you look at Excel's comp, though, they do have a lot of pick and dive potential. When you have the Jarvan setting up the engage, you have good follow-up with the Nami ultimate. You then have the GP ultimate to cascade on top of that, and then the high mobility of someone like Lucian. There's a lot of things that Excel can use to like start off a fight, get onto the backline, and basically force G2 to play to their tune. Whereas G2, I think they want to try and leverage some of their poke, both LeBlanc and Corki, as you get later into the game, have very strong poke tools. But look at this vision that Excel is currently denied, forcing G2 to face check into them.
BrokenBlade does have package, though. Markoon chunked a little bit. Some damage coming in from the side as well. And G2 with no wave here really don't have the option to like push towards this tower. Excel will get back towards the mid lane. Cap's going to try and clear out at least one of these control wards, but doesn't have the time to do it as Nukeduck walks his way across. Excel will gain control over the mid lane as G2 now move down towards the river. Patrik a little bit separated here. Markoon's going to clear out this ward. Ward going in from Caps as well, and G2 now have control over the Dragon
And this
Pit.
is really important because now G2 get to determine how the fight will play out. Excel are the ones forced to engage. There are a lot of disengaged tools. Now the poke begins.
BrokenBlade already down to half. Does have that package. Can do a huge amount of work in a fight like this. Dragon down to 1,000 HP and should be secured by Jankos. The package separates the team, and immediately Patrik is down, and immediately G2 pounce. Caps trying to get onto the backline there. The chains, but the oranges should make this K from Finn. Second chains, double flash. Jankos going in. Crescent Guard will not be enough to force Excel down. They lose only Patrik, but alongside that, they lose the Ocean Drake.
Wow, a lot was spent there from both sides, but it ends up only being a single kill going either side. G2, though, ultimately the victors off the back of this fight. They'll be able to claim that Scuttle Crab in the top river. They're able to claim themselves the Drake. And let's have a look back at this one. So, as we talked about, G2 have that initial control. The GP ultimate comes out very early. Flakked's positioning is very good here, staying just outside the Dragon Pit, trying to use his range and the Chompers to zone. You can see how difficult it is for Excel to get to the pit.
Oh, that's so good!
The ultimate then comes through from Nukeduck on to BrokenBlade, but then the Chompers actually knock...
He dashed back into the Chompers.
Oh, did he not get
he was knocked
in?
back by the package, and then he dashed back
yes.
into the Chompers.
So it ends up being a 1-for-1. Patrik doesn't even get an opportunity to use his flash, and just really good setup from G2 to secure themselves the objective. But that, as you rightly said, the positioning of the Chompers there made it difficult for XL to enter, and then the moment that Patrik oversteps, he ends up getting punished and then knocked into those same Chompers that ends up costing him his life. So the kill score still very close. The gold still very close as well. But for the most part, G2 leading, and they're just going to chill for now. Again, they do have a strong scaling comp. You can see the QSS now being completed for Flakked. He is now going to be much harder to kill, and he's going to be the main carry that you look to protect. Jankos, though, doesn't have flash, will lose half his HP.
Importantly, does have now the force of nature changed coming into 2022 as Jankos jumps forward. Crescent Guard keeps himself for the moment. Tidal Wave used as well. BrokenBlade's going to have to Valkyrie away. You can see Jankos, all that extra movement speed, because of course, if you get Malefic Visions on you, those ticks stack the movement speed passive coming out of the Force of Nature. So any magic damage you take. Baron, though, now begun. Caps has that teleport, can join this fight, but they knew Jankos was low. However, he's a jungler in 2022. He's back to full HP already. BrokenBlade at half, 4,000 on the Baron. XL trying to call G2 to a fight. Trying to call G2 to the river. Jankos dives in. Nukeduck flashes away. Jankos down already. XL, Baron resets. Finn stepping forward with the parlay, hits Caps. G2, 4 members strong, can continue to try and play this one slow with the Baron resetting it. Patrik dashing forward. The Caps able to dash away himself.
Both teams awkwardly looking at each other after that exchange. The Baron had already reset, so XL couldn't go back to start that objective. G2 noticing that they actually have a wave in mid, start threatening this mid tier 1. Another re-engage from XL. Markoon still has his ultimate. Malzahar has actually gone back to base, now making his way back out onto the map. Ooh, but I think Finn has overstayed. He doesn't have TP, and Caps is on the hunt.
Does he have the oranges? Wait for the chains to connect. Doesn't have them, it seems. He's down. Ethereal Chains will find their man as Caps goes 3-1 on the day. And we're starting to see those QSSs coming out of the G2 lineup here as well. Both Caps and Flakked, the 2 big damage dealers, have them already.
But a bit of a big misstep there from Finn. He thought that he could just push in all the way up towards that tier 2 in the top lane. ends up getting punished and collapsed on by the rest of G2. And this could be a potential problem, given that without the top laner, G2 could have just threatened a rush towards the Baron, especially when you have Jinx and Corki. That Baron will die very fast, but instead G2 deciding, you know what, no, people want to push out waves, they still need to reset. I don't think Caps has actually based yet. He's pushed out that top and is now going to look to go base. Patrik wants to try and punish it. Level 16.
3 levels. He doesn't hit it. He dashes forward. He's got the exhaust. Can he do the damage onto Caps' hit? Great clone micromanagement, but the far side alteration will find his man. The shutdown goes over to Patrik.
And this is one of those situations where Caps just pushed one too many waves.
Yep.
He overstayed, he really needed to reset, and now his overstaying gets punished. He dies, XL start the Baron off once more.
What can FLICKR do? BrokenBlade has the TP. I think he's got a package in base as well. He'll pick that up. Will he teleport to it? No. Instead, he comes to the fight. So earlier today, people were teleporting to that package. BrokenBlade, though, is going to join this fight. As there goes Jankos. Nethergrass coming out as well. Finn on the backline with BrokenBlade fighting. The Immortal Shubo will keep BrokenBlade alive. FLICKR doing what he can. Markoon forced away. Super Mega Death Rocket finds it. A 1-for-1 exchange between the two top laners. And it's both the bot lanes left alive. FLICKR and Targamas and Patrik and Advienne survive.
Ends up being a 3-for-2 in favor of G2. Though remember that they were in a 4v5 at the start of that fight. Caps is about to be respawned, but the fact that they were able to come out on top of that, very well executed. There were fights on two sides, so let's see if we can try and break down exactly what happened. An immediate flash engage follow-up between Jankos and BrokenBlade, diving onto the 4-man unit. Flakked gets engaged on, but the protection provided by Targamas is enough to keep him alive, and then BrokenBlade and Jankos is just causing devastation on the backline. The combo of those two versus the 4 members of XL to come away with 2 kills, very well executed. I love the confidence that we're seeing from them, and already some top jungle synergy, not afraid to just dive in and get the job done.
It's definitely working out for them, and now BrokenBlade with a QSS of his own, one less target for Nukeduck in these team fights. The 3rd dragon of the game for G2 was picked up, and it feels like after every fight, they're just getting that little bit extra. You know, they got the mid tower, they got the dragon now, they're on soul point, and it's an ocean soul no less. With only healing reduction, actually now is starting to be picked up across XL, but you've got Advienne with some and Finn with some as well.
So I just have to comment. Markoon has the Warmog second. Shout out to SOFM. So this isn't great. You don't have the HP thresholds to get the full advantage of the Warmogs, but this is something that SOFM did over in the LPL. He then built Anathema's chains. We'll see if he's... Anathemas.
How is it? How, Betty? How? You had 3 months. The chains
I'm from Wales,
of
okay?
Anna, who is... no.
Anna's chains,
Anna's
right?
chains, yep.
That is what SOFM built. So perhaps we are all the fools, and this is just the dark tech that we are too inferior to understand. You know
I am always willing to say I'm not smart enough. However, it seems int.
Well,
or just not great.
We'll have to ask Markoon. We can ask him.
Yeah.
Now, Baron again. I love this. XL, Baron up. Let's start it. We want to fight. Let's get G2 to come and fight us. Caps does have the TP, but this Baron is dying fast.
It's already down to 5,000 Caps. Now channeling the TP, but that's 2.5 seconds before he can get in this fight.
Here we go.
And he's going to be able to secure it. XL get it. Jankos nether grasped. The only guy without a QSS, it feels, on this G2 lineup. Nukeduck's going to flash away. BrokenBlade can do a lot of work with the missiles here, and Caps is in a good flank position. The zap landed.
Caps wants to kill.
Caps diving forward, but you can't get away from those barrels. You can't jump into those barrels. XL get 5 players out alive with the Baron buff.
3rd time's the charm, Medic. Wow, I love this aggression from XL. Just using the Baron to get the game to progress. Like, we've talked about how G2 do have a very good scaling composition. This Jinx is going to become a menace in the late game, especially when you have this shorter range Lucian. Much harder to navigate in this type of composition. But XL's like, well, you know what? We'll just keep forcing you to come to us. We will force you to fight us in a situation where we feel more comfortable and stronger. And it has been, well, not every fight has gone their favor, but that did not stop them, didn't deter them, and now they find themselves with the Baron knocking on these tier 2 towers. Let's see if they can get anything more, though.
I think the question really comes down to how will they play out these next 2 minutes, because they have to get quite a lot, and they have to set up around that Ocean Soul. Finn, you made this mistake once before.
He feels it. He feels something is wrong. He's like, where's Jankos, guys? Where's Jankos?
There we go. He checks it, flashes away towards the rest of his team. BrokenBlade and Jankos will try and clear this. As you say, Nukeduck TP's in. BrokenBlade and Jankos on the wrong side of the rift. How long can they delay and can they get away? Because Caps is pushing in the bottom lane. In fact, they can just catch the wave. Nukeduck there. Jankos jumps into him. There's the nether grasp, and Jankos has sacrificed himself for the good of the cause here, you have to feel. Finn will die. BrokenBlade will die to the Lucian, actually. Looks like Patrik may have hit an ardent blaze from across the wall.
And that was a really good punish once again from Excel. They recognize that Jankos and BrokenBlade are actually not in a good position. Sitting in top lane, stacking on top of each other meant that with the TP, they could actually get a successful collapse off. Now Excel is in a much better position to siege, knowing that they have the numbers advantage. They push in top, they push in mid, and while Caps is able to get himself a tier 2 in the bot lane, that's not going to stop Excel continuing the siege.
But how much do they actually have to push in? Because the mid tier 2 is already down, and because of Jankos and BrokenBlade clearing out the wave, there's only a cannon minion left here to help push this tower. It will be taken down as the wave does join them, so they do get a tier 2 in both mid and top lane, and a slight gold lead for the first time in a while here for Excel.
And they will need to reset. They can't overstay now because the dragon is spawning in a minute's time, and this is going to be likely the pivotal fight that could shift the game. If G2 get the Ocean Soul,
oh,
Targamas. Be in an excellent position.
I think he saw the Voidlings walking into the bush behind him.
Probably did.
I think that's why he checked that one. I will say Markoon now over the Warmock's threshold, so that item does have a little bit more power.
Finn, though, forced to flash here. Keeps himself alive, and then G2 realizes, we are in danger. Where do we go? Because notice the pathing that XL took. They went through each of the entrances to the jungle, one through mid, one through blue, and they stopped all potential escape routes from the G2 top jungle duo. Ends up getting themselves 2 picks, and now the gold lead, well, the gold is dead even. XL are actually foregoing the Drake in favor of pushing down mid.
I mean, they can do this very quickly. Like, they have a 4-item Lucian. They can take this tower. No Baron buff on them, but perhaps they're looking for the inhibitor. 2 recalls have started as BrokenBlade and Targamas will rejoin at the inhibitor. Caps is on a flank mission as well. But XL, 5 members strong. There's the Ocean Soul. How impactful is it? As Patrik dives forward with the culling, Caps able to jump away. Markoon able to escape. Patrik actually
in trouble.
Not in a good situation here as the package comes out. Exhaust. Caps over the wall. There's the shutdown as Flakked secures it. Caps going to try and jump away, but he's already dead as well. And G2 are just collapsing in here. Finn and Nukeduck, the sole 2 survivors of a catastrophe in the blue side jungle. Jankos will chase Nukeduck down. The shutdown goes over to BrokenBlade, and Nukeduck can only stand and watch, dismayed as XL collapses around him.
Wow, that aggression from Patrik needed to be punished, and it was. He invested so much, his dash, his Gale Force, everything to try and chunk out Caps, and then Caps just dashes away to safety. Then Patrik finds himself in the same position that, lo and behold, Jankos and BrokenBlade were in just a few minutes ago. Look, all of the avenues of escape are cut off by G2. BrokenBlade uses the package. Caps comes in from over the wall. The Jinx rocket takes out 2. And while Caps does give up his life, the team fight has already won. Targamas isn't even there. And the team fight has already been dominated by G2. Remember that they just got themselves the Ocean Soul as well. And G2 are now in firm control of the game. Great team fight there from G2. Good punish onto XL. And now we're kind of back in the stalemate.
Well, the minute on the Baron means that hopefully the stalemate won't last for too long. Gold even enough across the board here that really doesn't matter. You can see there's 3,000 between the 2 teams, split amongst 5 players, most of whom have above 11,000 gold. Really doesn't matter too much. But this Ocean Soul may be a bit of a nuisance. Chemcheck Putrefier is complete on Advienne. Finn has the Mortal Reminder, and with the Cannon Barrage, you are applying a lot of that Grievous Wounds. Nukeduck building up towards a Morello of his own as well, alongside the Void Staff and the Banshee's Veil. So XL do have tools to deal with a lot of healing. The issue is G2 have tools to kill XL before they can deal with a lot of healing.
That is basically a full build Flakked.
Yep.
That is a very devastating Jinx.
Hey, you say the same on the other side as well. 4 items complete on Patrik.
Yeah,
Lucian, of course, doesn't scale as well.
Level 16 at this point in the game, it's just, I'm surprised. Well, I mean, I suppose the QSS takes that spot of the rapid fire cannon, so you don't get that extra bit of range on the Jinx, but still. Caps as well. This is kind of, at this point in the game, LeBlanc becomes a poke champion. You jump over the wall, you drop your combo, and then you wait for cooldowns. Markoon looking for a bit of a fight.
Jankos going back in, re-engaging, tidal wave popped. Classic Guard, but Nukeduck just melted Flakked. Gonna cleanse and flash away, gets himself to safety. Caps trying to dive onto the backline. Now it's Markoon and Finn who are trying to do the damage. Patrik goes forward with BrokenBlade now on a rampage, silently carrying this G2 team. 1-for-1 trade. Finn able to get a kill off towards the backside as well, as he is going to chase a Flakked away. Flashes away from the zap. TP coming back in from Nukeduck. Finn puts down a barrel. Caps realizes it and dodges to the side of it. Advienne and Nukeduck on their way to support Finn, to act as the supporting cast perhaps in another fight here as Caps steps forward, will spot out Finn. Advienne and Nukeduck on vision. Finn puts the barrels down again. Caps, of course, can just jump over that wall and Finn tries to turn it around. Caps, what? Excuse me, sir? You need a license for that sort of assassination in this country.
LeBlanc is famous for making things disappear, and it seems that she showed that magic trick to Finn. Now, let's have a look back at this fight, because it was chaotic. Markoon starts it off tentatively, and then Jankos re-engages. Remember that at this point, G2's in a 4v5, but look at the damage here from Flakked. Overextends just a little bit, but the rest of the follow-up doesn't quite come through from Excel. He's able to get himself to safety, and now this is where the fight really splits up. Multiple members of Excel are outside of the fight. Markoon's forced to commit onto an engage. Finn is doing good damage, but isn't quite able to finish Targamas off. I think he believed that the burn, along with the Collector, would actually be enough to get that kill, but then the regeneration from the Ocean Soul came through and kept him alive. So initially it ended up being a pretty even fight, but then of course we saw Caps get himself that massive kill onto Finn as well, and now G2 have control over the Barren River. They're set up for the objective, and oh boy, are we in for another big fight. Finn no TP. Baron being started off, they know. I think Excel's just going to give this one up.
Looks like it. Just going to fight over the Elder instead. A very back and forth game here between Excel and G2. G2, I feel, have been at the fore in the driver's seat for the majority of it, but Excel have continued to land punches. And it's a good look for the slightly changed roster coming into 2022. A lot of people have this Excel lineup as their dark horse to make it into playoffs. It would, of course, be the first time in the team's history if they are able to do so. Markoon here, Jankos stepping forward. Jankos going to get knocked up. Crescent Guard coming out as well, but that's a big ultimate down. Caps on the flank. Flakked trying to get the damage in from range. Can Powder come out to play as Flakked will take down Markoon? It's actually BrokenBlade that gets it, but look at the backline assassination that is Caps. Finn, though, picks up a triple kill. And the Gangplank making bank in that fight with 3 quick kills to him. Jankos and Targamas still alive. And Finn decides not to step forward any further.
These fights start so chaotic and then end so fast.
Like, everyone is dead. Here's the survivors.
And you're just literally like, wait, who lived? Why?
Yep.
Wow. Okay, so I think a reoccurring problem we're seeing from Excel is what I call the Jarvan effect, which is Jarvan EQR, and then hi, we're back here. We can't quite follow up. And I don't think that Markoon is necessarily doing the wrong thing, because in every single fight, G2 is attacking the backline. And what I want to draw your attention to here is Caps. Excel know that this is about to happen, and look at how the team fight splits out. Markoon wants to try and start off the fight, but he's also keeping 3 members at the back, turning this into a 3 versus 2. Regardless, though, Caps and BrokenBlade, this lane to the game, absolutely melt the bottom lane. And the only reason why it's not made worse is because of that GP ultimate, basically single-handedly keeping Targamas from doing anything else in that fight.
I will say, though, Advienne, what a play from him. Tidal Wave into bubble to keep Caps at bay for as long as possible. Just meant that the burst didn't come out quite as quickly, and I always love to highlight good support plays when I see them.
As you should.
Part of Mark and Hank here is Jankos, once again, stepping forward for G2. Look at the positioning of BrokenBlade and Flakked. There's no package on that Corki,
but I'm having a look at some of these wards from behind in Excel's jungle. A couple of TP options here for BrokenBlade, but Caps is just going to flank around instead.
This ward should spot him, the one to try. Jumps in. What is happening on the rest of the map? Well, mid lane is pushed in, top lane pushing as well as is bot lane, all in favor of G2. Caps in a good position to jump forward here, and Excel do not know where he is at this exact moment.
He's just outside of vision. Can we quickly... Oh, never mind. He has now been spotted.
I think he's on vision now, Vedi.
I think he's on vision.
On a control ward, maybe being spotted out, but look at the extra range that G2 have.
Nukeduck.
Nukeduck trying to get onto Caps. Caps, I believe his QSS is back up. 10,000 on the Elder, but with the waves pushing in, G2 can just pull Caps and Flakked across.
I like this. Flakked doing the right thing here, just pressuring the mid wave.
Where is everyone? Where is everyone? Excel have no vision right now. Now they know Jankos and BrokenBlade are there. Caps stepping forward as well. Where's Flakked? Markoon is low, doesn't want to smite. For health, of course, level 16 on that Jarvan. The waves that continue to push in. Caps continues to look for a flank, to look for a way.
He's actually made it behind them. Oh no, he's gone back.
You're getting
so
baited.
sneaky.
Excel are getting baited. Caps trying to find a way to get onto this backline. Advienne half. silence, but Caps can just jump back out. There's the Cullen coming out from Patrik. 5,000 on the Elder. Markoon back to full HP. Advienne and Nukeduck.
They're going to burn it. They're going to burn it.
As well. They're going to try and burn it down, and it's Jankos who secures it. Now the grass down onto Jankos. He's going to pop the stopwatch. Finn forced up towards the top side. Flakked now can step forward. And that's the Jinx I saw in Arcane as he helps the double kill for BrokenBlade. Nukeduck forced away. Patrik the same. And this should be a wipe here for G2 as they clean up Excel in the bottom lane.
And it all came down to a 50-50 smite battle between Markoon and Jankos, with which Jankos comes out on top. G2, with the Elder, are able to take down 4 members of Excel and will make their way towards their first win of the split. But what a banger! 43 kills in 41 minutes. G2 will now knock on the Nexus towers.
And what a performance from both teams, as you say, Vedi. What a way to kick off the LEC 2022 for both of them. Excel coming to party, but G2 came for the win. And they will take down Excel in an incredible game.
Wow, very back and forth, pretty consistently throughout the game. We saw a lot of early aggression from Excel to try and shut down BrokenBlade in the top lane. We then saw some of that aggression punished. We saw some very close team fights with which, as you rightly pointed out in the game, it felt like that after every team fight, it was G2 that was just coming out with the Drake, with the Tower, with that smaller edge that was consistently putting them further and further ahead. And while Excel did show some strong stuff, it wasn't quite enough to win out of the game.
He's in this lower third, by the way.
G2 wins.
G2 wins.
Correct. That is an accurate representation. Good job, Graphic.
Next up, Astralis versus Misfits. So now let's talk about your key player of the game at LEC on Twitter. Caps, Flakked, Targamas are your options.
Poor Jankos.
BrokenBlade was like 12-1 at the end of that, like
12-7.
12-7.
He died a lot.
It's basically 12-1. The kills are all that matter. Quickshot and Trouble will be diving deeper into G2's first win of their new roster right after this break. G2 win.